Another day's hard ride. Harder now as the path turned rocky and rose above the river. It was almost dark when Harlon finally found a place to camp. A circle of stone amid a pile of rubble, the base of some ancient tower now broken and tumbled. A second circle of fire-blackened stone sat in the earth in the middle of the tower, the cold remains of some other traveller's fire. He found comfort in that. At least these lands felt peopled. He settled Atom with a bag of oats and began to gather fuel. There was little enough to find, brushwood and a few scattered branches, not enough to keep the fire burning for the full night. His heart sank. It was all he had. By the time he returned to the ruined tower, the sun was down. He set the fire quickly, orange flames reflecting off what remained of the tower. Tonight, though, something moved on the fringes of the light. Something that walked with a shuffling, halting pace. Something on 2 legs. Harlon drew his sword. "Who's there?" He heard the edge of panic in his voice, the crack of fear. He held the sword ready before him, his grip firm, but the tip of the weapon danced. A woman stepped into the glow of the fire, her dark hair wild around eyes that looked hungrily at the wavering tip of the blade. Blood and soil covered her face, and her clothes were torn and ragged. He could see the bloody trails of claw marks across her neck and chest and the flowering swell of bruises across her skin. "Who are you?" Harlon whispered. She took a staggering step forward, her eyes still fixed on the tip of the sword, and then, with a speed he was unprepared for, she ran at him, throwing her arms wide. He was rooted, unable to move or think. He felt the impact as the sword took her in the chest, felt the vibration as the blade scraped across sinew and bone, and the release of pressure as the tip burst from her back, and she fell onto him, her face almost touching his. A cough of blood spattered his face. Her breath was rancid. A cascade of expressions flew across her face. They ended in a smile. Her breath rattled, and then the weight of her on the sword was dragging her down. He pulled the blade free. It stuck against her ribs, and for a moment he thought to let it go, but it slid out of her with a sigh. She collapsed in a heap, blood pooling around her. Harlon breathed with a sound like a sob. His knees lost their strength, and before he knew it, he was on the ground beside her. "What?" he breathed. Aton screamed a warning, and suddenly something else was there, stepping into the light of the fire. A wolf, grey-furred and pale-eyed. It watched him as it took 2 steps into the firelight. It was huge, easily the size of the horse. He felt warmth flood from him and kicked himself back, leaving a trail of dampness on the ground. The wolf lowered its head, its golden eyes fixed on him like rivets. It opened its jaws, white teeth like bone knives glistening in the firelight as it took hold of the body of the woman and retreated. It slowly pulled her out of the circle of light and into the darkness until nothing remained but a trail of blood to tell him that anything had happened.